Today I got my wire brushes for the Dremel. So these are the ones I'm going to start using to clean in the cooling fins. And I have these ones I may use too. I've already been using ones like this. So just got a bag of them. I got a couple bags of them like that. They just come in a Ziploc bag. I bought them on the internet. Way cheaper than going to the store and buying them. By the way, I wear this when I use my wire wheel, so I don't get anything in my eyes from the, little wires fly off when you're using it. So you can see it does a pretty quick job of getting the crud out of the fins. So I've been working away at it for about 2 hours, and it's pretty much well done. Came up really nice. I even cleaned the crankcase up really nice. Turned out nice. I'm going to put the little rubber, I took out the rubber grommets. They're kind of rotten and split when I took them out, and I went through, those are the wire brushes I used. They last quite a while, but it kind of twists these little ones in a ball. A Dremel needs to reverse so you can run it the other way too. But it did the job, and for only using that to do all of this on one of those regular wire discs. So I'm sitting here working away. I cleaned up the top of the rocker cover too. So I'm sitting here working away, and then all of a sudden I can start hearing this hissing, so I'll show you what that is. So I have this little Harbor Freight thing on my air compressor, an air dryer, and then this goes to my bead blast cabinet. That turns the pressure onto the cabinet and turns it off. And the hose just runs along the wall. It's just easy when I want to use it. Just come over here, switch the air on, go switch the light and the vacuum on, and get to blasting. And then this is the main shut off for the air from the compressor. But I thought it was this cheap Harbor Freight coupler. I had to replace this one already with a good one because it would leak air out. So I thought, well, I'll just get another decent coupler to replace this Harbor Freight one. And I got to looking, and there's nothing wrong with the coupler. It's my Harbor Freight air hose. So yeah, so I'm just sitting here blowing air out that. And I just leave this air hose. It's just a short one, and I just leave it connected there all the time. Then I can hook my blowgun to it. And I took a blowgun that the tip had broken off, and I just put some brake tubing on it to make a decent blowgun, so I can blow things off at a distance without getting it in my face. So this is always my dandy little short air hose. I guess I'll have to get a new repair end or go to Garbage Freight and get another one. Everything they sell is just for doing a few things. It's not, if you make your living, you don't buy your tools there if you make your living with them. But, yeah, it's nice just being able to blow things off like that. So I guess I go up to the auto parts that I deal with up in Roma. They can put a new end on the hose. I don't think they're more than the new end's $1 or $2, and it takes them a few minutes to put it on. So I'll just take that with me, and if it's more than that, I'll just buy another Garbage Freight hose, because I do like having an air hose here. And I thought I'd just show a little bit of the crankcase where I cleaned it up. I'm going to pull this cover, pull the points cover, I'm going to get the piston on TDC of the compression stroke. I'm going to adjust the timing chain, the timing, put the new points in and set the points. Then I'm going to pull this cover and bead blast it and sand it out. Actually, I might sand the crankcase out first. Kevin, my brother, had a great idea. He said put a little dab of grease in between here to prevent dirt from getting in the crankcase as opposed to tape. And I thought, what a great idea. The grease will collect the dirt. So I smeared grease around that and just threw it on with a couple screws. But I think that the next step is I'm going to sand out this paint so it's ready to spray. Then I'll pull this cover and bead blast it and get all this cleaned up and ready for paint. But first, and I'll show it in the video, I'm going to set the timing and the points and adjust the timing chain and do all that stuff I wanted to do to it. But it cleaned up pretty darn nice. The cylinder pretty much all looks like the way it did when it was new, as I remember it. Some of the clear, I think they cleared this, is peeled, so there's a few little imperfections in color in that. And this is pretty good. There's maybe one or two little imperfections in it, but it is a 1976. And I'm going to put those rubber grommets back in the cooling fins today too. And one more thing, Dad. Thank you for getting me this at that estate sale. This thing ran flawlessly for 2 hours and didn't even get warmed, where the Dremel motors tend to get hot, and you know how we've burned a few out over the years. And what's nice with Dremelos, you send them back to the manufacturer, they send you a brand new one. They stand behind their product. They're really great products. But this, I have to say, I really like this. I give this on a 1 to 10 a 10. I really do like it. Amazing. Sears made a good flex shaft tool. So I have people ask me all the time how I keep things nice and clean in my garage. Well, I guess when you dust your house, you use something like Endust or something like that, or damp cloth. But this is what I use. I already did this, wiped it off. You can see what I got off of it. But you know, you just kind of give it a squirt and wipe it down. And I do this with all my everything that I have in the garage. When it gets dirty, I just spray it WD-40, wipe it down. It doesn't get the corrosion from the temperature changes, and it keeps it looking nice. And if you do some painting or something, you get some overspray on it, because of the WD-40, it'll wipe right off. Another thing I save is you buy calipers or wheel cylinders or sometimes, you know, power steering pumps or whatever for a car, and they always come with caps or plugs in them. And I save them. I don't save them all, but I save enough to where when I need something to cap something, I can. So I just found this in here so I could cap it to make it easier to sand out without getting stuff in the engine. So with grease there and that capped, I think I'm ready to start working on sanding. But like I say, first I'm going to tackle this stuff. There's the little rocker arm. And I don't know if it's on the compression stroke or not, but there's no valve lash on either one. If it is, not on the, could be on, you know, in between the intake and exhaust, like the end of the exhaust stroke. When the piston's coming up exhausting, before the piston hits stop dead center, the intake valve starts opening, and then as the piston's going, just starts down, the exhaust valve finishes closing. That way you get a little overlap where both valves are open slightly at the same time, and it could be in that position right now, because this is, I think that T is top dead center, and that so it's just beyond top dead center. I don't know if that shows up in there or not. There's an N, a T with a line, an F with a line, and two lines right there. And I don't remember, it's been so long since I've timed or done any tune-up work on one of these engines. I've never done anything to this engine. So I'm going to go look at the manual. These are the timing marks up here for the breaker plate. And again, I just don't remember what's what here. So I'm going to go look it up and then we'll come back out and work on this. Got a little itty bitty nut to hold the points. It's a 5.5 millimeter. These are the original points from when the motorcycle was new, and I did clean the heck out of them and re-gapped them, and you can still see there's some pretty good size pits in them. Yeah, they're shot. Imagine that little block there is worn too. That's the factory original set. Here's a comparison of the two sets of points. The original in my right hand, the replacement, this is the replacement in my left hand. You can see how big that point surface is, how much smaller. Well, it might not show up in the video, but the replacement one's significantly smaller on this side of the points, but this side, they're pretty much all the same size, and you know, round. So it's, you know, that one there, the two are about the same size, and this set of points, this side, the point on that end is much smaller. Just goes to show the quality isn't there. But look at the where they rub on the camshaft. Maybe turn it this way. I don't know if that, maybe this way it'll show up. So you can see that that is quite worn. So between the points and the part that rides on the cam, that's almost worn to this part here. So I definitely need new points. I pulled the breaker plate off to make sure the centrifugal advance was working, and it is. But look at the springs. They look really stretched out and beat up. So I think I'm going to see if I can get, I mean, it does go back to retard, but when I advance it, this spring is doing nothing. I can advance it and still wiggle that spring. So I think I'm going to get some new springs for the centrifugal advance. I just went in and looked up the part number and searched for the parts and the springs. They don't make, Honda doesn't list just the springs. They only list the whole centrifugal advance. So I got the part number for the whole centrifugal advance and found one, and it just happens to be that it will be coming with a breaker plate with points and this wire. So I got basically everything under this cover coming. It'll be about $70. The part's coming from Thailand, so it might be the middle end of December by the time I get it. But it will be the correct centrifugal advance, and 76 was 77. They changed the advance, so the 77 and newer advance has a different part number. The 76 and a little older has the same part number, so it said it's 76. So hopefully it's all good, and like I say, the breaker plate will come with, it's the OEM Honda stuff, so it'll have the OEM Honda points, and then the contact will be a large one there like it is on the original points. In the meantime, I can get this thing up on top dead center on the compression stroke, and I can adjust the timing chain, adjust the valve lash, get this sanded out, get this cleaned up. I can even do the painting, because this just is a matter of popping this cover off here to get at the advance and the breaker point cover. You don't need to have this cover off to do this. So this is not a big setback on waiting. By the time I'm ready for those parts, I'll well had them for a while, I hope. So I just threw that together so I don't lose any of the fasteners or anything. I'm going to put the cover back on, but first I'm going to adjust the timing chain and the valve lash. Now I got it on top dead center, T with the mark here, and I got a little bit of valve lash there. That's supposed to be 3/1000s, and this is supposed to be 2/1000s. A little bit of movement, so they might be all right. We'll adjust them. I don't think I've ever adjusted them. I heard the video and do this at the same time, but I got the 3/1000s in there, and I can just barely move the rocker arm. I'm almost going to say if that's off, it's only off by maybe 1/1000s. I don't know if I'm going to get that any better than what it is. So I think I'm going to leave the intake alone, and then the exhaust. Turn the light off over here so it doesn't bleach the thing out. And the exhaust, I can get the little gauge in. And I can still move the arm just a smidge, so I think I might adjust the exhaust valve lash. The valve lash is all adjusted now. I was accidentally putting the 3 on this side, so this side was, the 3 won't go in now, the 2 does. I was accidentally putting the wrong feeler gauge in this when I was putting the 3/1000s. The 3 doesn't go in, the 2 does, and that just barely can feel the valve lash. And this side, the 3 goes in, and it's, you know, you can feel just a slight amount of resistance that goes in, and I tried to put a 4 in and couldn't get it. And you just turn these things just a minuscule amount. What I do is I put the wrench on the rocker arm, then I put the screwdriver in there, and I hold that from turning when I break the nut loose. And I mean, when I turned this thing, it was just a little bit. And then I retighten the rocker arm, holding the screwdriver so this one turn as I tighten the rocker arm, and then recheck the valve lash. So this is where the timing chain tensioner is, and this just covers over, and then the gasket surface of the engine seals that off, so oil should not be in here when, you know, the engine's sealed up good. But I took this off, and a little oil, you can see a little oil running out right here, so the gasket must be leaking in behind there too. So the engine again has to be on top dead center, compression strokes, so just like when I adjusted the valves, you loosen the lock nut, and I might have set the camera down to do this. So the lock nut's loosened up, then you loosen this up, and that tensions the timing chain. It allows a spring-loaded doohickey to move freely in there, and the timing chain self-adjusts. So once you get that done, you tighten this back down and tighten the lock nut, and the timing chain's adjusted. Simple as that. After I set the timing chain tension, I rolled the motor over a couple more times by hand and rechecked the valve lash, and it's all good. And I'm going to replace the little O-rings on the caps. I think I might buff the caps up. Just putting these little rubber grommets back in, and how I do it is I just found a wrench that fit around them. I put a little WD-40 on them, and then just tap them in lightly with my plastic mallet. Does a pretty good job. Looks really nice with new ones in there. Whoops. Simple as that. That looks really nice. Nice new rubbers in there. They were all kind of discolored, the old ones, and cracked looking, and they weren't even up and down the fins anymore. There's little holes in the fins, and there's a little dimple in the grommet that went into that hole. So they're all in their right spot right now. I just wanted to show the difference. This is one of the caps I've been just buffed for a moment or two, and I haven't done anything with this one yet. This is what I used to buff, and just kind of it's messy, so I don't really want to run the camera. Buffing is super messy, so I try, but I'll just give you a quickie of what I do, and this is how I'm going to buff the screws for the crankcase too. And that rubbing compound was still all over it, so when you put a little wax on it, it'll really shine. It gets the edge nice and polished up, and it's going to look good when it's done. These, as I remember, were almost as shiny as chrome. Now I could buff that aluminum crankcase cover up with this and make it look like chrome, but that's not the way it was originally finished. So that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish it the way it originally was. And you just got to be quick on the nut sides. You don't want to round them out or anything. Whoops. It just catches that way. Fortunately, I got some carpet down there. So yeah, so that just kind of makes it look a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and buff the other one up, put the new seals on, put them back on the engine. And there they are installed, buffed out, new O-rings. I put a little dab of oil on the O-ring like you would an oil filter because they turn in, but that looks pretty darn good. It looks like it originally did. This cylinder was this aluminum looked like that, just bare aluminum, cast aluminum, but these were shinier, and that's about the way I remember it when it was new. Now I just need to get the crankcase the rest of the way prepped up and painted up, and then we're pretty much all done with the engine other than the centrifugal advance and the breaker point plate that I ordered will be going on. I just want to show here I buffed the screws out, well, one of the screws, whoops, the engine side cover. So the one to your right is the glass bead, the one I keep dropping, is the glass bead blasted screw, and then the one to your left is the one I just buffed, and I only spent maybe 30 seconds tops buffing that. I think that's going to look really nice with the crankcase painted back to the original color and these screws back to the way they originally were. look really good. So again, if you enjoy my channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.